Hello and welcome back. In these trying times, I decided to review a game that reminds us all that things could be far worse. Today, I'm going to review Metro Exodus, which is the latest instalment of the Metro series preceded by Metro 2033 and Metro Last Light, and loosely based off the novel series written by Dmitry Glukhovsky. So with the background out of the way, it's story time. Our protagonist is RTM, a soldier and resource gatherer dreaming of greener pastures in a post-apocalyptic land of mutated abominations. RTM follows a functioning train to find out that all transmissions between Moscow and the outside world are being jammed so that the rest of the world doesn't know that there are any survivors there, and that RTM's father-in-law was in on the whole thing. After breaking the jamming device, RTM, his wife Anna, his father-in-law and the rest of his squadron head off to a secret government bunker and hopefully find some member of the government that's still alive that hopefully can bring this whole Russia together. On their way to the bunker, the train breaks down, so they head off to try and find an engineer that can hopefully repair it. And on the way, they rescue a woman and her little girl from this crazy fish cult. Anna gets exposed to some pretty nasty pre-war chemicals. They manage to find a carriage and a shunting engine for their train, and they kick off the cult and their leader who has been blocking off the bridge. They arrive at the bunker only to find that the government no longer exists and their ancestors have devolved to a tribe of cannibals who have been sending out radio signals to lure people to them. RTM and crew escape the bunker and head off to the Caspian Sea, both to get some fuel and to find a satellite base that could show them a safe area to live. RTM comes to blows with a local baron who has been enslaving the survivors and hoarding all the oil and fresh water for himself. RTM finds the map in the satellite base, kills the baron, takes the water and fuel that he needs. However, it turns out that Anna's exposure to those chemicals have caused her serious lung problems. But RTM and crew have finally found a habitable land and take the shuttle up to it, only to find that the land is already inhabited by a bunch of former scouts who worship their former scoutmaster as some divine teacher, and also a giant mutated bear that takes bullets like a fucking brick wall. Turns out living in this valley wouldn't be such a good idea, as it seems that the dam is almost about to burst and that the materials of the dam have become irradiated. So instead, RTM and crew head off to Novosibirsk to try and find a cure for Anna's illness. After arriving there, they encounter a little boy who is the only survivor of an underground war over the medicine they need. RTM heads off to find the medicine, only to encounter creepy hallucinations, along with a bunch of gigantic mutated blind gorillas with telepathy that may or may not be the ones causing the hallucinations. RTM barely escapes the gorillas, gets the medicine, is saved by his father-in-law, only for his father-in-law to end up dying of radiation poisoning. RTM and the boy finally get back to the train, where they get the medicine to Anna, and depending on how trigger happy you've been throughout the game, you either get the good ending where RTM survives, or the bad ending that I got where RTM dies of radiation poisoning. The game is a first-person shooter that switches between open world and linear level design depending on the chapter you're in. A mixture of storyline objectives and side objectives as well. Get materials and resources that help you craft items such as medkits, gas mask cylinders so you don't run out of air in radiated areas, tin cans to distract enemies, throwing knives, explosives, molotovs. You can repair your gas mask if it gets damaged by enemies, or you can clean your weapon so it's less likely to jam. You can also pick up weapons on the field or dismantle them and use their parts to modify the other weapons you already have. You can either choose to fight or sneak around the mutants and hostile residents of the wasteland. the second of which probably gets you the good ending. The music does a decent job and is only there when it needs to be. It's relatively subdued and mostly used to build atmosphere. And in case you're wondering, yes, he still is tied up. Graphics do a good job in displaying this burnt out, hostile and desolate world and the creatures that live in it. Although there were a few graphical glitches. The first one was in the Caspian Sea area where a section of the skybox would show a different time of day to the rest of it. And the second one occurred after Artyom was attacked by a giant shrimp thing, and the animation must have fucked up somewhere and the shrimp ended up inside Artyom's model, so the camera showed a bunch of shrimp limbs flailing about. Artyom's movement was restricted and prevented him from interacting with anything. I had to reset to a previous checkpoint to solve this problem, and yet somehow still less buggy than the Fallout games. The gameplay is really good. The story is well written and solidly paced. The world building is top notch. The game's control are satisfyingly functional. The music and graphics help convey an atmosphere that's appropriate. And apart from a few glitches, any other criticism I could lay against this thing will feel like needless nitpicking. However, I feel that getting the full enjoyment out of this game will be dependent on whether you've played the previous games in the series or not, as some characters and aspects of the world building you would already be familiar with. Well, that's all from me. Anna, his father-in-law, and the rest of his squadron.
Is it square?
On their way to the bunker, though, I think my voice just cracked.
Yeah, it's just like
they finally get to the bunker.
the bunker.
Glitches, any other criticisms I have to say of this? Fuck it. The game is really good. The world building is top notch. The story is well written and solidly paced. Paced.
That's what you said, paste.
Paste.
You said paste.
Oh, I did it right.